Hi, my name is Stephen Benton, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce myself and to share some ideas about the Indian science of home building, known as Vastu Shastra. Vastu is home, Shastra is science. Essentially, it's the science of how to build the most ideal structure for living, for business, for whatever purpose it's intended for, that enhances the health, the wealth, the prosperity, the peaceful consciousness, loving relationships, creativity, and so forth. So in my practice, I consult with people, particularly on their homes or businesses, and I blend the best of both Chinese Compass Feng Shui and the Indian system called Vastu Shastra, the science of home building. Today's video is specifically focused on Vastu Shastra. So these concepts are from a different age on Earth, when we were much more connected to the divine energy within us. The divine energy can be thought of in many different ways, depending on your orientation and what type of words you like to use from your cultural, spiritual traditions. You could say the divine energy is that part of us that is eternal, that never dies, that is connected to source, or you could say that the divine energy is the creator within you. You could say that the divine energy is your Buddha mind, your enlightened mind. You could say that the divine energy is Allah. You could say that the divine energy is the Great Spirit, Great Mystery from the Native American traditions, or the Great Dreaming from the Aboriginal Australian people. You could call the divine energy anything you want. Jesus Christ, Jehovah, El Shaddai, Yahweh Yireh, the Force, whatever way you want to identify it. So these types of concepts, such as Vastu Shastra and the Chinese system of Feng Shui, are rediscovered, implemented for thousands of years, and then they fall out of consciousness for thousands of years when they're no longer needed. And then they come back into consciousness, and then they're used again for thousands of years. Just like fashion. Fashions come in, stay for a time, go out of fashion, and then eventually come back into fashion again. So I'll try to break this down as simply as possible so that it's as understandable as I can make it. Bearing in mind that these concepts come from a different age on Earth, when we are more divinely connected to that source energy. And also, these concepts come from a completely different culture, from, let's say, the Western culture, or the Indian culture from 6,000 to 8,000 years before Christ. So vastly different thought processes. And the Indian cultural or spiritual orientation, deities, beings of light, that they were discovered by the seers, the saints, the yogis in deep meditative states, are probably very foreign to people in spiritual traditions such as Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. There might be some correlations with Buddhism, but these concepts are very different. So I'll try to break them down and introduce them in an understandable fashion. So The information I'm about to present today is just a general overview about Vastu Shastra, the Indian science of home building. I probably will restrict myself to structures in the northern hemisphere. As you go across the equator into the southern hemisphere, things change slightly. You can't just apply Vastu Shastra principles that were discovered in India in the northern hemisphere across the whole globe. You have to modify them slightly when you cross the equator. But that's for another video. Southern hemisphere structures. The information I'm about to present is for northern hemisphere structures. Structures meaning homes, factories, motels, hotels, corporations, whatever structure and whatever use it's being used for. I'm going to restrict myself, though, to using the term home because that's just simpler. So the 4 elements or 5 elements in the Indian system of Vastu Shastra are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So depending on what wall we're referring to, let's consider the structure as being just a square or a rectangle. And you have a door, generally 1 or 2 doors in the structure, a front door, a side door, a back door. The north wall would be related to, in general, would be related to the water element. The east wall would be related to the wood element. Now I'm blending the Chinese compass system as well, but this is an overview. The south wall would be related primarily to the fire element, and the west wall would be related primarily to the metal element. The center of the space would be related to space or ether, so openness. Where a door is positioned and on what wall it's positioned specifically has great significance in the Indian system of Vastu Shastra. What Vastu Shastra really developed and got very, very clear about is that wherever you put your door is going to invite very particular energies, or in their conception, very particular spiritual beings into the structure. And these spiritual beings, or these spiritual energies, will have influence, either positive influence or negative influence upon the occupants of that structure. So, for example, you could place your door on the east wall, but there are 9 different possible positions for a door to occupy on each wall. These positions in the Indian system are called padas, P-A-D-A-S. They're also known as steps. You could think of them as increments or positions, all the same thing. Excuse me. So these positions of the doorways, or padas, delineate what type of energy comes into the structure. So on the periphery of the home, and we're thinking about a square or a rectangle, on the periphery of a home, you have various deities or energies that reside on different points of each wall. And to determine where those positions or portals would be for those particular energies, you take a tape measure and you measure the length of that wall, let's say the east wall. So you take your tape measure and you find that, let's just use an arbitrary number, the east wall is 36 feet long, for ease of math. Then, because there are 9 different padas or increments in each wall, you take 9 and divide that into 36. Well, that is 4. So that means that every increment or pada or position is 4 feet in length. So from the northeast corner, you would start at 0 and go to 4 feet. That would be the first increment. The second increment, or pada, would be from 4 to 8 feet. Okay, those first 2 increments on the east wall would be considered acceptable to some degree, but they're neutral door positions. They don't bring bad things, but they also don't bring good things. It's just a door. So why have a door that doesn't bring anything good? Doesn't bring anything bad, but if you're going to position a door anywhere, why not position a door that's going to bring good things, good energies into the structure? So on the east wall, we have the third position, which would be 8 to 12 feet. Fourth position, 12 to 16. Fifth position, 16 to 20. Sixth position, 20 to 24. And seventh position, 24 to 28. Eighth position, 28 to 32. And ninth position, 32 to 36 feet. So you would find out where your door is positioned, and then you would know what type of energy is being invited into the space to have influence upon the occupants. So a door in the Vastu Shastra system is not just a physical door. It's not just on the physical plane. A door is allowing you to open into the space, from outdoors into the space, of course, and it is on the physical plane, of course, but a door also simultaneously is existing in another dimension as well. That's kind of the mind blower, is that kind of like the statement, as above, so below. So we have a correlation between the physical and the spiritual. So anything on earth will have a spiritual correlation. So when you put a door in a very particular position on a particular wall, you are also creating a doorway to a very particular part of the spirit world. And when that door is put on the structure of the home, it also opens a door into a very particular part of the spirit world. And the spirit world, it's almost like there's a light that goes on, and the spirits or the energies in the spirit world can see that you are giving a portal for them to come in and interact with you and have influence. So this is one of the most unique concepts in Vastu Shastra, is that structures are multidimensional. They're existing on Earth, of course, but Earth is also connected to the divine spiritual world. And so how you structure things in your physical is also creating a correlation in the spiritual, which is a fascinating concept. And so the saints and seers discovered that different door positions would invite very particular spiritual energies and spiritual beings into the structure. And so they were very careful to specify where the positive energies for doorways would be, and where the negative energies for doorways would be. If you're from India and you're listening to this, then you know that there's a prohibition, a caution against inhabiting or purchasing a home that has a doorway or doorways on the southern wall, because the southern wall in the Indian system of Vastu Shastra is considered the least favorable wall to have a door, a portal. Now, this is for Northern Hemisphere structures. This does not apply to Southern Hemisphere structures. So if you live in the Southern Hemisphere, don't be concerned. Putting a door in the south is considered risky. And a lot of Indian people, because of their extensive infusion with their culture, with Vastu Shastra, oftentimes adopt this idea of, well, we're not going to purchase that place because it has a door in the south. And we know that that could invite some major and significant problems and challenges. There's only one position on the southern wall that is considered favorable, and that's the fourth position from the southeast corner. Again, you would take the length, take a tape measure and measure the length from the southeast corner to the southwest corner, measure the entire length of the southern wall. Let's say it's 36 feet. Divide by 9. Again, you've got a 4 feet increment for each segment, or pada. So from the southeast, exact southeast corner, 0 to 4 feet would be the first increment, 4 to 8 would be the second, 8 to 12 feet would be the third, and 12 to 16 feet would be the fourth increment. If you're going to have a door in any location on the southern wall, you'd want it between the 12th and the 16th foot, if your house was 36 feet in length. If the house is shorter in length or longer in length, of course, that would change the specific number of feet you would go out to find the fourth position. But in this particular scenario, it would be 12 to 16 feet. And if you found that your door was in that sweet spot of the 12th through the 16th foot, you'd be fine. But more than likely, you'll find that your door would not be positioned in that location. It would probably be more likely that it would be positioned in one of the other positions that are considered very unfavorable. So the first 3 positions on the southern wall are related to chronic and significant health problems. Putting a door in those positions invites very challenging energies that would create dysfunction, illness, sickness, disease, that would be very, very difficult to get rid of, and more than likely would stay with a person for the rest of their life. Diseases such as arthritis, scoliosis, digestive problems that just won't go away, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, leukemia, cancer, all sorts of diseases, diabetes, significant and high levels of diabetes that are very hard to regulate. So putting a door in the first 3 positions is problematic because it will bring energies to disable your health. And the 4th position, if you found that you had your door in the 4th position, fantastic, congratulations. That's the only position on the southern wall that's considered favorable. Now that position supposedly brings in whatever benefits the south can give. It coalesces and focuses those benefits through that particular portal, through that particular opening into the structure. Okay, so putting a door, having a door in that 4th position would tend to make a person very, very busy. They would find that maybe in the first year or 2 of putting a door in that position, they wouldn't be that busy. But as the house and the energy matures, they would find that they would be very busy with work, and it would be very difficult, to find time to rest and relax. Now, it can be a very good thing for business because you'll have lots of opportunities coming in on a consistent basis. But the challenge with a door position on the fourth position of the wall in the southern wall would be that you need to allocate and set aside time to just relax, because you're going to be so busy doing, going on a regular basis that you'll have to take that time to recharge. You want to have a life as well. So moving on from the fourth position, we go to the fifth position on the southern wall. The fifth position is the center of the southern wall, and that's one of the least favorable positions for a doorway in Vastu Shastra. The center represents an energy that is related to death and decay. If we specifically talk about the mythological or spiritual concepts related from India, we would be thinking of the god Yama. Putting a door in the center of the southern wall invites the god Yama, the god of death, into the structure to have influence and interact with the occupants. Now, Yama is not a benevolent god. Yama is a malevolent god who likes to try to kill you or create disease or loss, legal problems, any type of problem you can think of, relationship problems, financial problems, health problems. If he can, he'll try to kill someone in the home, or at the very least cause significant problems, make someone very sick. Just any type of problem you can think of, Yama will try to make that happen. So this is a very unfavorable position. If you're not keen on thinking about it in terms of the Indian mythology, that's fine. You don't have to. But just take it to mean that putting a door in this position invites an energy of death and decay into the structure. And it's a very challenging position to have in a home. Moving from that position to the sixth position, just to the west of the center, we find that the energy decays even more, becomes more negative as you approach the southwest corner until you reach the absolute worst possible position for a door, which would be the 36th position or the 9th position from the southeast corner over to the southwest corner. The very furthest point on the southern wall, closest to the actual southwest corner, would be the most unfavorable door. And that door would be very evil, very negative. Not that the physical door would be negative, it's that the portal, the opening, if you put the opening into your house in that position, then you're inviting the most unfavorable and negative energies possible into the space. Progressively, as you go from the center of the southern wall to the west, to the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and finally the 9th position on the southern wall, things become progressively negative and worse till you get to the worst position. So, and you could even say to yourself, well, you know, I don't even use that door. In fact, we haven't used that door for years. Well, it doesn't matter if you're actually not using the door. That's fine, but it doesn't prevent the spirit or the energy from using that door. By putting a door someplace or having a door someplace, it's allowing a spiritual gateway into the space. And that gateway, even though you're not using the door, is still a gateway, a portal that is open. Okay? So the southern wall for Northern Hemisphere structures is a very, very difficult proposition for door placement because there's only one position that's considered favorable. That's the fourth position. The first three positions create lots of health problems. The fifth position is very detrimental because it relates to decay and death. And then as you proceed to the west of the fifth position, from the center, the fifth position is the center. As you proceed west of that position, it becomes progressively more negative and evil, okay, until you get to the ninth position, which is, as I say, the most negative and most detrimental position for a portal. So it's a lot of information, isn't it? It's very foreign. Let me just back up a second. Based on my readings of the yugas, or the cycles of time from India, yugas are ages, cycles of time, and these ages move in a circle, a cycle that is eternal. So we start with a golden age, go to a silver age, a bronze age, and an iron age. And then we go back to the iron age, bronze age, silver age, and golden age. So it's a circle in which you start in the gold sector, go to silver, bronze, and iron. And then that's a descending cycle. And then you go back into the iron age in an ascending cycle. Then you go in ascending to the bronze age, the silver age, and back to a golden age. From there, that's an ascending cycle, and then you go back into the golden age again, which is beginning again a descending cycle. So it's a circle like that. You could go clockwise too, it doesn't matter. It's just a cycle of ages from gold, silver, bronze, and iron. And based on research that I've read that is very well developed by Bibhu, B-I-B-H-U, Dev, D-E-V, Misra, M-I-S-R-A, Indian scholar and researcher. His paper that he describes the different cycles states that we are currently in 2022 in the Iron Age, the end, almost the very end of the Iron Age, the ascending Iron Age. So we've gone through a descending Iron Age, and then we've come back into the Iron Age in an ascending Iron Age. Each age lasts for 2,700 years based on his principles. Then after that 2,700 year period, there is a 300-year period of transformation. It's like a set change in a theatrical production. Excuse me. And the set change represents changes on Earth. Can be environmental changes, potential environmental cataclysms, floods, earthquakes, things that shake up the world and prepare the world and humanity for the upcoming new age. It could be that during the transformation period there are collapses of political systems and governments, civilizations and cultures and governments rise and fall. It tends to be a fairly challenging time on Earth. You can think of it as preparation for the new age, completing one age and preparing the Earth and humanity for the next age. So in Bibhu Dev Misra's research, he states that 2025 is the end of the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga. Kali is the goddess of destruction from the Hindu pantheon. The Kali Yuga is characterized by a lack of connection with the divine. We have in the Kali Yuga, or the Iron Age, they're synonymous, in the Kali Yuga Iron Age, we have approximately 25% connection with the divine. And then in the ascending Kali Yuga, ending in 2025, we then have a 300-year period afterwards, in which the transformational process is being set up to create the opportunity for the new age to come in. So it's actually quite good news, although it's a difficult time that we're coming into. It's quite positive, because if his research is indeed correct, and I believe that it probably is correct, we are exiting the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga, in 2025, which is good news, because the Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, is the most disconnected time that we can have in the cycles of time, most disconnected from our spiritual essence, from our divine source energy. So we would then go through a 300-year period of transformation. Of course, many of us will not make it through that entire 300-year period. Of course, we'll probably have many lifetimes through that 300-year transformation period. And but nonetheless, as we exit that transformational period and then enter into the Bronze Age, which is Dwapara, D-W-A-P-A-R-A, Dwapara Yuga, we then gain 25% connection with the divine essence within us, which is great news, because we'll have a better life. We'll be able to more fully manifest what it is we need without such toil and suffering. Okay? Not that we'll be perfectly able to think and speak things into existence, but we'll be more able to have the things that we need come into existence without needing to labor so extensively for those things. So there'll be a deeper connection with the divine essence within us, which means our lives will get better. Our relationships will improve. We'll see less sickness. We'll see less wars. We'll see less poverty. People will be in a much better place all the way around. And then we go through 2,700 years in Dwapara, or the Bronze Age, and then again a 300-year cycle of transformation, preparing for the next age. And then that 300-year transformation period elapses. We go into the Silver Age, which is also known as Treta, T-R-E-T-A, Treta Yuga. So then we gain another 25% connection with the divine essence, which is fantastic. Now we have 75% connection with the divine and only 25% disconnection with the divine. So things become even easier, more peaceful, more harmonious. People are much more able to manifest whatever it is they need through their thoughts, by thinking it, by visualizing it. It comes into being. By speaking it, you can bring it into being. There still is a need for some amount of work, but not as much. You're not toiling and suffering. People live longer. People are not in conflict or contention very much. There's no wars. Probably very unlikely to have wars in the Silver Age. Not impossible, but probably very unlikely. There's much more peace and harmony for everyone, and health, and people live longer. Then we go through 2,700 years of the Silver Age, the Treta Yuga, and again entering into 300-year cycle of transformation, preparing the earth and humanity for the next age, which is the Golden Age. Then we enter the Golden Age, and we gain another 25% connection with the divine, which is fantastic because now we have 100% connection with the divine. So we're really, really tuned into our spiritual energy. We're using that spiritual energy. We're flowing in that spiritual energy completely. And we're easily able to manifest whatever we need through thought, through word, without the need to labor for things, without the need to suffer and toil for things. People's minds and emotions are in a very deep place of peace, contentment, harmony. There is no suffering, there is no fear, there is no war, there's no anger, there's no jealousy. Things are on a much higher plane of existence. So then we go through that 2,700 years of the Golden Age, also known as Satya, S-A-T-Y-A, Satya Yuga. And then we go through another 300-year cycle of transformation, preparing us and the earth for the next age, which begins a descending cycle. We enter back into the Satya Yuga in a descending type of movement, the Golden Age. Again, we're still in this wonderful 100% connection with the divine, and we go through that, and then we descend into the Silver Age, 25% reduction in the divine connection, ascending down into the Bronze Age. Again, another 25% reduction. We're at 50% connection with the divine and 50% disconnection. And then finally descending into the Kali Yuga or Iron Age with a 75% disconnection with the divine and a 25% connection with the divine, the most challenging age. Then we go back into the Kali Yuga in an ascending fashion, and then the cycle repeats again and again and again. So these concepts of Vastu Shastra come to us from 6,000 to 8,000 years BC, and they get, as I said in the beginning of this video, they become discovered and rediscovered, forgotten and rediscovered over and over and over again as the cycle of time progresses. So essentially, this is the framework or the history that I hope has set up a fairly good understanding for you about some just very basic principles of Vastu Shastra. It's a very deep and profound concept that has to be developed slowly so that you can understand, and too much information at once can be very overwhelming. But let's just back up and suffice to conclude that where the doors or portals are positioned and on which walls those portals or openings are positioned has a very profound effect upon the type of energy and spirits that come into the home that then have influence and bearing upon the occupants of that structure. And the system of Vastu Shastra fully develops this concept, and I will also fully develop this concept for you as I share more videos in the coming days. I don't want to overload you with too much information, but that's the big takeaway, that the cycles of time go on eternally. These types of concepts, such as Vastu Shastra, are rediscovered over and over again, forgotten, rediscovered. Doors are more than just physical openings into a space and outside a space. They also correlate with the spirit world, and because of that fact, there are particular energies either that invite a negativity or positivity into the lives of the people that live in that space. In my consulting process, when I work with people in their homes or their businesses or whatever structure it happens to be, I go through the space and I blend the Chinese system of Feng Shui with the Vastu Shastra system from India, particularly focusing on door placement and educating people about what type of doors are beneficial and if their doors are indeed positioned in beneficial positions or not, and how to remedy those situations. What is let's just go into that for a second. What is the remedy for a unfavorable door position in Vastu Shastra? Well, you can't just hang a wind chime or a mirror or burn some incense or have a particular picture of, some spiritual being there. It's going to correct everything. You actually have to remove the door. You have to physically remove the door. Hire a carpenter, take the door off, put a wall up, maybe a window on the top. Windows are fine. Doorways are the only structures that allow these very particular types of spirits that Vastu Shastra discovered to enter into space from the spirit world. Windows do not allow spirits to come in and out from that particular Vastu Shastra pantheon of energies and spiritual beings. Now, I'm not talking about demons, and I'm not talking about ghosts or disembodied spirits that used to be humans. They can pass through walls, of course. They don't need a door to come in and out. But I'm just referring to the spiritual beings that are developed in the Vastu Shastra system. And these spiritual beings, or spiritual energies if you prefer, reside on the periphery of the house. And by putting a doorway in a very particular location on the periphery, you're essentially creating a portal to the spirit world for entrance for those very particular spirits that are discovered and described in Vastu Shastra's system. So if you would like to discuss scheduling a consultation, feel free to reach out to me. Be happy to talk with you over the phone, or you could text me or email me. Be happy to discuss your concepts and your ideas and get the ball rolling for a consultation process. Changing your structure has very profound effects upon your life, as everything is energy. Everything is in a state of vibrational energy, and changing the type of energy or spiritual beings that come into your home can have very profound effects, very beneficial effects for you in your life. Now, I don't say this just because I've read it in a book and I'm then spewing it back forth to you. I say this because I have discovered these teachings and I've applied them in my own personal life by making many changes to my own living structure in my own home. And then after I make a change, I pay attention to whatever results come. And then sometimes I say to myself, well, I thought this was going to happen, but actually that didn't occur. Something else occurred. Or I make another change and I find out, oh, well, that wasn't beneficial. This actually brought some problems by doing this. Or by making this particular change, such as removing a doorway and putting a new doorway in a very particular position, such as a favorable position based on the Indian Vastu Shastra system, I was able to then discover that, my goodness, this new position really does, and as the text described, makes fantastic and meaningful changes. And be happy to discuss this a little bit more with you if you'd like to contact me. There's so much more to develop, and thank you for listening. Again, my name is Stephen Benton, and again, I'd be happy to hear from you. Thanks for listening to me. Take care of yourself, and all the best.